Hey librarians, thanks for joining us today. Once again, this is our small librarians group meeting. We are here at the store. Thank you all for coming in also. We are going to do a different list for fiction, nonfiction, and then Jessica will do children's. You can't see Jessica, but she's right there. So anyways, but I'm going to go over my calendar quick a minute. We got a couple virtual events in September yet. This Thursday on the 16th, we have a panel and we're going to discuss the perimeters of what makes Christian fiction. So there's 3 authors that'll be joining us for that. On the 21st, Kimberly Woodhouse will be joining us virtually. She has written some historical, and I am looking forward to talking to her. I've met her a couple different times, one time at Fiction Reader Summit, which was a lot of fun. And then October, we have on the 7th, we have an historical disaster panel is what we're calling it. We have 3 authors, including Susan Messner, but Elizabeth Camden, and oh boy, I'm losing the 3rd one, and I apologize for who that is. And Jocelyn Green. I knew if I talk long enough, I'd think of it. So anyway, so they'll be joining us when we'll be talking about their books that have written about natural disasters and or man-made disasters around historical events. And then on the 12th of October, we are doing our all-day event. We will be here at the store. We're doing reviews starting at 10 o'clock, 2, and then 6. Jessica, I can't remember, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot. Are you doing just the 10 o'clock reviews, or are you going to do the 2 o'clock also?
I'll probably do both.
Okay, and not the 6, because you have left. Okay, just want to make sure I get that right for you guys. So come on in. I will tell you the discounts will work all week in the store. We will have reviews go up, but they will not go up online until Wednesday. So if you want them before that, come in on the store, but the line reviews will go online on Wednesday. And there will be a promo code that comes out, and I will make sure it went on the flyer, which should be arriving in your mailboxes any day, but I will send it via email in the next week or 2. So you'll have the ability to shop online with that promo code, especially if you come in on Tuesday and realize you forgot something. Use the promo code, it's fine. So, or come back in and visit, which is fun. And then just a heads up, the following week after Librarians Week, I will be gone for a week and a half. So if you do have issues and you have questions, you're welcome to email me, but it's going to be the end of October, beginning of November before I get back to you. And you're welcome to wait, don't worry. It's all right. So if you have any questions about that, you're welcome to email me. You can even send them online. I'll try to pick those up from Zoom and or Facebook and answer them that way for you. So everybody here, any questions? Okay, we're going to start with the nonfiction list. Now, those of you on camera, I just resent that email with the 3 letters or 3 lists attached to it. So you might have just gotten it. I did send it last night, but I sent it from home, and sometimes those don't go through, and I don't know why. I can't figure it out. But anyways, it doesn't matter. So you should have gotten it. So we're going to start with the nonfiction. It says nonfiction September/October 2021. So, and I did this with the group on Thursday last week in Holland. And if there is a repeat in here, I'm sorry, because Keith didn't forward me the list that he had been sending me. So I'd have no idea what he gave me. And we have kind of a blurred line on who's doing the fiction or nonfiction buying right now. So it's me again. So I'm trying not to pick ones. I tried to pick some really new ones. How's that? So Help, I Am Drowning. This is by Sally Clarkson. It's Weathering the Storms of Life with Grace and Hope. So, there's going to be a lot of books coming out now about the effects and without mentioning COVID, because our anxiety levels have gone up, our stress levels have gone up, and there's a whole bunch of things and people are struggling with it. So there's going to be a lot of them. This one I liked because there are at the end of each chapter, so you could even do it in a Bible study. There's a prayer, then there's anchoring in the scripture, and then there's some journaling, but then there is an act. Something you can do either for yourself or for somebody else. Today it says as an act of your will, write out where you were that you needed courage this week. So, and then it goes on from there. But so I just thought that was kind of a neat thing that you could do it together or you can do it on your own. One Soul at a Time, the story of Billy Graham. with all the controversies coming out about different ministries, it never ceases to amaze me for the decades that Billy was an evangelist. Never once was there a controversy for him. There was never anybody that sued him for anything. Now, I imagine he got sued for stuff, but nothing inappropriate. How's that? And so what an example. I mean, I always admired Billy too, but I've always admired Ruth because she always had such a wicked sense of humor. She was funnier than all get out. And she had a line that I use in my marriage. She was asked one time, have you ever thought of divorcing Billy? And she thought a second, and she's like, no, I haven't really thought of divorcing him. Murder? Yeah, not divorce. So, and I always thought to myself, now, if Ruth Graham struggles with Billy Graham, me probably is going to struggle with my own husband. So I just thought it was a great line. I never know if I got it exactly quoted right, but it still makes me giggle. So the third one we're doing is the making of C.S. Lewis. A few months ago, I'm not even sure how many, we did the ones where the making of C.S. Lewis was his early life, his childhood into college. This goes from 1918 to 1945. So this is when he is fighting his battles literally in World War I and when he comes home. And this is where we start seeing him start writing his books, his Narnia books, but also his nonfiction. So it's just a continuation. So if you have book one, this is going to continue. Now I can't remember, and I don't believe it's the same author. I think they have a different author write each, and then we're going to have 145, I think, to his death. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I know these have been very popular with people that really like CS. God has not forgotten you. This is by David Jeremiah. It's a beautifully written book. It's mostly just excerpts from some of his other books, but it's very timely for what we're going through right now. I'm sure that's why they published it and put it out. He is with you even in uncertain times. And I mean, we've always lived in uncertain times because the world is uncertain. But it just seems to be something that is high on everybody's list right now. So you can use it for yourself, but also if you know somebody that's struggling with that, this is one of those books. Because when I picked the nonfiction for our church librarians, I'm looking at something you can put on the shelf that people are going to gravitate and need. Because there's a billion books I could recommend to you, but they're not going to work on church librarian shelves. So, but that one I think there is. And then Dane Ortland's Gentle and Lowly. This book kind of came to my attention because my sister's church is doing a little recommendation and study of it. And so I got to reading it. It's not real new, but it's pretty new, I'd say in the last 6 months. And then somebody else pointed out that if you contact the publisher as a church, there's some things they can do for you. And that's probably why my sister's church is doing it, but because there's a church in Holland that's also doing the same thing. Well, not the same thing, they're different churches, but studying this book too. So it's the heart of Christ for sinners and sufferers. Now, sufferers not meaning somebody that has just lost somebody, okay, because you suffer a loss. We are all suffering through this life of sin. So hence the title. But I got to reading it and I read the first few chapters of it and really well done. It speaks to everybody's heart. So, but those are the five that I have. So Jessica's going to do the kids' books right now, and then I'll be back and we'll want to do the fiction. Thanks, Jess.
I move all Chris's stuff out of the way. All right, so I do have a pretty short list again this week. Summer is pretty slow as far as children's book publishings, but we'll start seeing longer and longer lists as we get into the holiday seasons. But I'm going to start off with our 6 to 8 nonfiction. This is a very cute book written by Jonathan Gibson and Timothy Brindle. It goes through the alphabet, but it describes who God is. It is for the older ages. I have a lot of like the 0 to 2 books that do this, but this one's geared towards the older ages. So like love and king and righteousness, the different characteristics of God, and just describing who he is in detail. In our 9 to 12 fiction, we have the 3rd in the series from Shannon Hale, This was Friends Forever. I don't remember the other two names off the top of my head, but I do have them in stock. The main character is going through 8th grade and all of the struggles that entails. It is a graphic novel, which has been very popular in recent years. Lots more kids are gearing towards the graphic novels. They are on the back. So the first one is Real Friends and the second one is Best Friends. Thanks, Chris. All right, so this next one is our family concepts. It talks about being a big sibling and the struggles that there are of having a new baby sibling. And she does everything in her power to try to get the baby ready to send out in the mail. But with all the things that she's like, you know, when you go to your new family, you'll get to do this and this and this. She realizes that she wants to be able to teach her baby sister all of these things, and that maybe keeping her isn't such a bad idea after all. All right, I really like this next one. It's Birds of the Air by S.E.M. Ishida. I'm not sure what SEM stands for. I didn't look into that, but it is a really cute story that goes through the time of Jesus' baptism, but it focuses on the birds and God choosing which one he's going to choose to represent his spirit. He ends up going with the dove, but why? Why did he choose the dove versus any of the other birds? Kind of describes that. It's really cool. All right. So Love is a very, very cute one as well. I'm gonna botch his name. Escobar is his last name. But it goes through 1 Corinthians 13, I believe. Anyway, it pairs that verse with beautiful, beautiful illustrations. This next one goes through Walter the French Bulldog. And we all know what it's like when you have a kid that's trying to be helpful, but they're making things worse, trying to be helpful. So this just kind of goes through that patience and realizing that perfection isn't necessary. Just as long as your heart's in the right place, that's what matters. And I'm really excited about this next one. I've been looking forward to this one coming out. This is The Grumbles. And it is kind of focusing on how we tend to complain about the daily tasks. You know, everybody has something to complain about. Each member of the family complains about something every single day. And then Grandma Grateful comes in and decides to teach them how to be thankful for their daily things and how to change their grumbles into gratitude. It's really cute. That's all I have for you guys. So I'm gonna let Chris take it again.
And she nicely moved her books for me. Here's mine. So I have to say, I relate to Walter, that not perfection thing. You guys know that well, I'm sure. So we do have a nice list for the fiction books for this month. I was very excited to see a lot of these titles come in, some a little bit early, some right on time. So that always makes it exciting. I gotta tell you that I'm already working on the list for October and it's really good. So we got some good books coming in this fall. So I'm excited to be able to share them with you guys. So Wanda Brunstetter has started a new series, Creek Town Discoveries. The Walnut Creek Wish is book number 1. It is set in Walnut Creek, Ohio, and it is around a antique store called the Memory Keepers, which I thought was a brilliant name for an antique store. I figure if I ever opened a store, I'm gonna have to read a bunch of books about it and then get a really cool name because they got some fun names in these books. So, but it's about 2 people that run this antique store and then how they take care of the people that come through the doors. It reminded me a little bit of their Amish knitting club. I'm not getting the total name right, but it's kind of the same idea where they had the knitting class and they kind of took care of the people that came into class. It's the same concept, but it does include Amish to it. There is a nice little Amish buggy because I was asked that the other day, but I just thought it was very sweet little story. So yeah, and that's Wanda Brunstetter. And that one she did write on her own. I know she's been writing with her daughter and I think granddaughter, or is it daughter-in-law? I can never remember. But this series is just Wanda herself, so which makes it pretty exciting. Book number 2 of Love on the Wires. I don't know if you can hear that, but somebody's phone went off and it was a wonderful song. So that's why we're all giggling. Crossed Lines. This is actually about the Telegraph and the Telegraph office in London. They're kind of standalones in the series. It's the settings that make them equal. Or I mean, part of the series, they are equal. They're very, very good. So Jennifer is a lot of fun to read. She writes with a good sense of humor, but she also has her historical facts that are very accurate. You know, these historical writers, and I can't think of any in this pile that I wouldn't say this about. They do their research. And the fun thing when you read books like this, you end up wanting to go online and find out more about that period in history. So I love that. So, but Jennifer is one of those that's it's just fun to read. It really is. She makes me laugh out loud. Blackstone Legacy, book number 1, Carved in Stone by Elizabeth Camden. She is going to be one of the ones that was mentioned that on the historical panel that we got coming up. Her books are interesting because not only are they very good historically, they've always got a little bit of a mystery to them, which makes them just a little different to read and makes it fun to read because I'm always trying to figure out the mysteries. But I like her books just for the historical. Again, like I said, I'm gonna sound like a broken record with these historical ones, but when they talk about something that either happened in history or was discovered or whatever, it's like, oh, I didn't know that, and so off you go to, which is when the internet is really nice, is because then you can go look on different things instead of having to go to the library and look it up in an encyclopedia. But okay, if you're younger and you don't know what an encyclopedia is, I don't want to hear it. But anyway, so I like Elizabeth's books. She has got a bunch out. If you haven't read any of them, this is a good one to start with. But if you've got them, you're going to want this one because this one's really good. I really enjoyed it. Misty Bueller, she has a ton of books out. She self-pubs a lot of her own books. She happens to do these through Bethany, but she's got a ton. If you have not read her, you have got a backlist that you are going to enjoy for a long time. She writes historical romance with the emphasis a little more on the romance than the historical, but it doesn't matter because her writing is so good, and it doesn't matter as if the romance is the bad part. Sorry, Misty, I didn't mean to imply that. Her writing is good. Her characters are believable and very 3D, so you want to read more about them. She does all these settings. Most of them are set out west. I'm trying to click through a few that I've read, and I think almost all of her books are in that Western setting. Do you know for sure?
I think so.
Okay.
I think most all of them that I've read.
Yes, and I haven't read a ton of them, but I've read enough. And okay, so that was just one of the ladies sitting here, so they agreed with me. So we're gonna go with that. Misty can correct us if we're wrong. So I actually have 2 Christmas novellas that I have read this year. I know people are shocked by that because I usually only read one. But anyways, Melody Carlson has a new one, and she takes us off to the French Alps. There's a young lady in this book who has lost her grandmother, so she has lost all her family now. And then in her will, her grandmother leaves her a note that talks about a great treasure that her grandmother left behind when she left France after World War II. So off to the French Alps she goes. And I have to be honest, I don't think I ever thought about visiting the French Alps. You know, you go to Switzerland and visit the Alps, right? But this book makes it sound like just the kind of neat place to go, and to go at Christmas because it's a little tiny village and how they celebrate Christmas. So very cozy, very much a normal Melody Carlson Christmas book. If you like her Christmas books, you're gonna love it. It's perfect for that. So doesn't make me long for snow any faster, but it does give you that nice warm cozy Christmas feeling. So Since You've Been Gone by Tara Ferris is book number 3 of the Restoring Heritage series. This is actually set in Heritage, Michigan. Now, you're not gonna find Heritage, Michigan on a map because she made it up. But Terry does live in a small town in eastern Michigan, and so she takes what she knows about Michigan and includes them in the stories. This is a romance. You have two different couples. You have Leah Williams, who is back in town, and then she and Jonathan. And then there's a couple other couples in there, and you will visit the ones you met in book 1 and 2. So they don't necessarily follow in order, but if you don't want to know what happens to the couples in book 1 and 2, I recommend to read them in order. Okay, so if that makes sense. So I like Tara's books. These are one of those that, you know, you take along and they're just a nice story. There's, you know, you just, I don't know, there's something relaxing about reading them. Sometimes, you know, if you read a high impact or high mystery book, you kind of get tense with the book, whereas Tara's, you're with friends, you're nice and relaxed. So Secrets in the Mist, this is Morgan Bussey's new one. I gotta tell you, I love her. She writes fantasy, sci-fi, and this is a steampunk. I'm not even sure how many she's written now. I was gonna look that up and I forgot. Yes, it is only on hardcover. It's not a bad price, so it's $22.99. So with your librarian discount, you'll get a nice little discount on that. But don't let the steampunk part of it scare you, because it's just part of the story. As like Wanda's book has got Amish people in it, this has that steampunk feel to it. But the mystery, the fantasy part of it is fun. I mean, this is a good buildup on book 1. You're getting right into book 2 when you come along to it. We live a little dystopian. She doesn't say that it's Earth, but implies it. There were a war many years ago, and it created a deadly mist. And so people are moving upland. They have created flying machines and ways of keeping land and places to live up in the air. The problem is the mist is moving and it's getting bigger and they're running out of land. So like I said, I really enjoyed this book, but I personally have put in a request for book 2 immediately. Because this one ends in a cliffhanger, and yep, you needed to just send it to me right away, Morgan. I'll be good with that. And then Heartless Heirs, this is book number 2 of the something series. Do I have it written down over here? Twin Dagger series, sorry, it's not on the cover like I thought it was. And this is actually a teen fiction book. So this is more of a fantasy. Did you read book 1?
I did.
Did you read this one yet?
I haven't read the second
I'm
one.
asking Jessica. Okay, just wondered. So, because I thought, yeah, I knew you had read book 1. So planning to anytime soon?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That tells you it's good. If she's planning on reading book number 2, I should probably have her review this a little bit. So, but this one is, and I did not spell that wrong on the list because I tried to correct it twice. It is Macy Kate in one name. Even though I keep trying to put a space in there because that's what my head says. Now without a home and on the run, Issa has never felt so trapped and alone, even with her sister and friend by her side. So recommended in order. The main characters are teens, so it is definitely directed towards the teens, but I do have some adults that do come in and read these. So fantasy?
Yes.
Okay,
very much
thank
so.
you. I thought so. See, it's nice to have her around, isn't it? Secret Keepers of the Old Depot Grocery, book number 2 of Amanda Cox. She's the one that now I'm blanking on the name. The Edge of Belonging was her book number 1. This is her sophomore book. And just fantastic. It is a dual time. You meet a grandmother, a mother, and a granddaughter, and the secrets that they have kept through the ages. I dare you to read this book and not fall in love with Gloriana. She is just a hoot to listen to, but she's also just a good person. But her and her daughter read this, run this Old Depot Grocery, and the handwriting's on the wall that these little grocery stores are not surviving. The big grocery store down the street is kind of running them out of business. And so when the granddaughter comes back to town, she wants to keep the store open, and of course this causes a clash. So but very well done. I read it in a weekend. It's just that good. You don't want to put it down. So really good on women's issues, but how keeping secrets about important things from each other needs to not be part of your life. So but very well done. Starts in 1965, which was kind of interesting because it's with the Vietnam War. Dark Intercept, book number 1 of the Shepherd series. Some of you may know the name Andrews and Wilson. They do write secular books. They are very, very good, but there is a lot of language in them, so I can't carry them here, but I can carry this one. And I was trying to think of a great way to describe this book. And the best way I've come up is take a book by Frank Peretti and mix in Joel Rosenberg, and you got this book. Action, adventure, and spiritual warfare all over the place. I absolutely enjoyed it. I loved every minute of it. It's a good setup for book number 2. You meet the shepherds who are battling the forces of evil to keep them from taking over the world. And so there's a lot in there. There's a kidnapping of a young girl, and that gets Jeb, who is a newly retired Navy SEAL. He gets involved because he is friends with her parents. So I am looking forward to book number 2. I believe it comes out in 2022, but I don't know the exact date.
So this could be a really good book for men.
Yes, strongly recommend this for guys if you're looking for something along those lines. But if you have women readers like me who will read anything that's a good book, it's a good book. Just plain and simply, it's just that good. So I was very excited to read it because sometimes I've been presented with books like this is a good guy book, and then I get halfway through it going, yeah, I don't know any guys that are going to want to read that. This one, I know about 6 people just right off the top of my head, yeah, you guys got to read this book. So if you got guy readers and you've been struggling to find things for them, yeah, and you got at least 2 more coming, and depending on how well they do, we'll have more than that. So and I do keep an eye on their secular writing now, because they are writing for, you know, that too. And if there's anything of theirs that I can bring in, I will. So but yeah, and if you want to, there should be on Baker's YouTube channel an interview I did with them. They're funny and they're good guys and they're ex-military, so they're a lot of fun to talk to. The Healing of Natalie Curtis by Jane Kirkpatrick. This is the story of Natalie Curtis, and she has run off. She's a classic pianist, and she has gone off to the West to heal. She has given up on her music. I should mention this is set in 1902, not contemporary, but this is also about how she finds her way back to music, not through classic piano, but through the Native American music that is out West, and the studies she does on that. So based on this true story, as Jane's always are, usually it's just a little blip in a history book somewhere and Jane picks up on it and does the research and brings us a really good book. I have not had a chance to read this one yet, but Jane's books are good books. They are historical. She is one that I continue to go looking for what she is writing about. She also will include, usually in the back, not that I can find it now, yeah, suggested additional reading. She'll do that a lot, or give websites, which is also really, really fun to look through. So I really appreciate Jane's, because just because of the research she does on them. A lot of her books are set in like Oregon and Washington. This one is going to branch out a little bit more and cover a little more of the West. The Lines Between Us by Amy Lynn Green. I just want to say that she just won a Carol Award over the weekend. I don't want to miss anybody, but now I don't remember. For some reason, I only remember that Amy won, and I don't know why. But anyways, this is set during World War II, but it's a little bit different because it's, again, on the home front, but it's some conscientious objectors and what they did here to help with the war, which I found interesting. So what they did is they became smoke jumpers. They were the ones that were out battling the wildfires while the people had enlisted and headed over to Europe. There is a young lady, she is also involved, but she is struggling to join the Women's Army Corps, and what the Women's Army Corps is doing and how she wants to help do things. And she keeps getting told, well, women don't do that. So I thought, oh, well, there you go. So I like Amy's writing. This is also her sophomore book, The Things We Didn't Say, the winner of the Carol. Actually was one of those that was, the story was moved along by letters written between the different characters. This one is just a straight story. There's different times and different characters that their point of view, but it is not one of those that they call epistolary. I think I'm saying that right, but the letter writing. But if you look at the cover real close, you'll find the lines that are on the front cover. So I thought that was kind of cool. Trace of Doubt. I love Diane Mills' writing. She writes what we call romantic suspense with a leaning more towards the romance, or I mean, excuse me, the suspense. She has the romance in there, but she is writing suspense. And I really like her mysteries. She is writing basically standalones, because even the ones that were in the series earlier were ones that were more, each book was individual and was just set in the same city or the same, like the FBI or something. But right now they're completely set alone, set apart. 15 years ago, Shelby Pierce confessed to murdering her brother-in-law and was sent to prison. Now she's out on parole and looking for a fresh start. And then there's somebody that comes along and maybe the mystery isn't completely over yet. So I am probably, well, I could probably find you the chapter. Nope, I'm not gonna, but I would say I'm pretty close about that far through it and just thoroughly enjoying it. Well written, she does her research, she has, she does interview FBI police, so what she's writing is believable. And that I think is half the battle. She also is one I recommend to guy readers. I'm looking for a mystery. Diane Mills is one that is easy to give to guys. So just because her emphasis is on the suspense and not the romance. Gold in These Hills by Joanne Bishkoff. And I was trying to remember, I don't think this is a sequel to anything. And again, I didn't get an advanced copy, so I haven't read it yet, but I've read some of her other ones and I absolutely love them. It's part of America's history that not a lot of people write about. In some of her other ones, this one is set a little bit more modern. It's 1902, so a little more modern than the American Revolution era. So, but I'm looking forward to reading it. There is a present day part of it, so it is a dual time. But it is set in California, and with this title, it has to do with the gold in the hills and the miners and all that fun and interesting stuff. So, but I am looking forward to it. She writes historical that does have a little bit of romance to it. So, and again, the research. And then everybody, I don't know if you all have read it, but Lynn Austin's book, If I Were You, about the two young ladies all the way through World War II. And then this is their sequel. It is set in Christmas. It is set around, so to speak, the Sears Wish Book catalog. I loved when that came in the mail. We could get our little pencils out and we could color or circle the pictures of everything we wanted. So this nostalgia in this book is amazing. But because it is around the two girls, Eve and Audrey, sorry, couldn't remember the name, and their two boys, and that first Christmas after the war, and what was that like? I shouldn't say after the war because, well, if you haven't read the book, I'm going to shut up now. But here, let me give it all away. That way you won't have to read the book. But I really enjoyed it. I read it. To be honest with you, I read it on a Sunday afternoon. It is a Christmas novella. So it's not very long, but it is really well done. It is just one of those heartwarming books, but it brings strongly that message of what is Christmas actually all about. Is it about that wish book or is it about others? And so, so well done. I do recommend that you read If I Were You first. If you have not read that, please read that one first. Not that you wouldn't get the story here, but you get the background story that goes with it. And that's what makes it a good story. So, and of course you feel like Eve and Audrey are people because they're friends and you just spend a lot of time with them. So, so to have Christmas with them too is kind of a neat thing to do. Catherine Fuller's second book in the Amish Mail Order Bride series, Matched and Married, is, like I said, book number 2. Double Dose of Love is book number 1. It came out, I think Double Dose of Love came out earlier this year, and I want to say January, but close enough. So this one is about Margaret Yoder. She can't seem to catch a break, even though she's dedicated to her Amish faith. Her wild rumspringer won't stay in the past. So she actually moves out of town hoping to find a husband. So Catherine actually writes both. She writes a contemporary romance books, but she also writes these Amish books. And they're really interesting. So about different things that have happened in Amish history. And let me see if I can get you a date here. No, I'm not gonna get a date here, so I'm not sure when it's exactly set, but there you go. So Catherine is one of those that I actually recommend that when people are like, oh, I like Beverly Lewis and Wanda Brunstetter, but I've read all their books. Well, have you read Catherine? Because she's got some really good ones out there. So, and we have a lot of her backlist, not necessarily in the new books, but we do carry a lot of them in the used. So, so if you have readers in your library that are looking for more Amish books, make sure you check out Catherine. Kathleen, not Catherine, Kathleen, sorry, my fault. So this one should have been on last month's list. So if somebody says, oh, I've already got that book, you probably do, but I missed it. I don't know why, I just did. And so Forever Your Own, Tracy Peterson's book number 2, The Ladies of the Lake. These are all centered around one of the Great Lakes. Now, it's not going to cover all 5 because there's only 3 in the series. But this one is centered in Duluth, Minnesota, and Lake Superior. So, and it's Tracy Peterson. I don't know what else to say about Tracy Peterson's books other than she's got millions of fans. They all read her books. You guys all know Tracy. She's very good. She does her research and gives us really delightful books over and over and over again. So. And then 2 more, one of them being Beverly Lewis's new standalone, The Beginning. Beverly is not planning on writing series again anytime soon. She will flat out tell you she can't keep track of even the color of her character's hair. And she's got sick of hearing the complaints, so she's writing standalones. And I said, brilliant. I would have done the same thing. So this one I have not had a chance to look at. It just came in last week. And I just, you know what, it's Beverly Lewis. If you like Beverly Lewis's writing, you're going to like this book. And I will tell you why. I like Beverly Lewis's writing. I enjoy her books because they delve into different issues too. She doesn't just write you a simple story. She's like, okay, now here's an issue that these people have to deal with. And quite often you can say to yourself, oh, shoot, so am I. So I really, really appreciate that. Her books are centered around the Amish, but they're quite often Amish in the rest of the world too. It's not just a narrow vision of it. This one is about Susie Mast and her life in Lancaster County and how it's been shaped by events that are completely out of her control. And A Midnight Dance by Joanne Politano. I actually talked to Joanne about this book, I think last week, Thursday. So that one also, the interview is on YouTube, Baker Bookhouse. I don't even know what the address is, but look up, if you go to the YouTube channel, and then you can just type in Baker Bookhouse, they pop up. There's all kinds of videos, because I know even Jessica's got some on there. So, but anyways, this is centered around ballet. And there's a mystery to it, and the ballet is, and I can't look at the first chapter because that's the wrong year. But anyways, now I'm not even gonna find it, but they're kind of Regency time, set in England. And one of the questions I asked her, and I've always been fascinated by this, and she's the first one that gave me a good answer, is how dancers and like actor and actresses at that time were really looked down upon. Now, everybody supported them. Everybody went to the theater, they went to the ballet, these rich people, but they didn't include them. They were considered lower than. And she was talking about how in her research that a lot of the dancers were thought that because the only way to survive, because they didn't make much money dancing, was to take on a sponsor, which, a lover, something, but that's the only way they could survive. And so of course, then I could see where that, the dislike of them built, but you appreciate the art they did. So I thought that was just kind of interesting. It does come into play in here and the discussion of it and how it's frustrating it was to our main character that the only way she could survive would be to do this, even though she refuses to. So just to let you know, but there's a little bit of mystery in there. There's so much about the ballet in there. I can't dance. I have 2 left feet. I am very Dutch. Dancing for me requires me to, not do it with other people around. But I love listening and hearing about ballet and how this woman had this in her heart. This was her calling. So it was interesting, and the hours and hours and hours of training they did, so they can present this one show. You know, so I really, really enjoyed it. Joanne's books are just getting better and better. They just very simply are just getting better. She's always had a mystery. It's becoming more of the story. There is romance in it, but again, it's the mystery and the historical part of it that is the story she writes. So I'm looking forward to her next one. She was telling us all about it. So we'll have another book for her next year. So, but that is the end of my list. Are you able to see if there's questions in the chat? Sorry, here we are on our own. I don't see any. Okay. So if you do have questions from online, please feel free to either email Jessica or myself, or give us a call, or stop in is fine too. But that is what we got today. So thank you for joining us online, and we will see you next month in the store.